Okay, cool guys. We got a cool little group today. So today what I want to talk about, I don't know if any of you guys looked at that video that I posted in Slack yesterday. There was a write-up and a video regarding just communication skills. But if you haven't watched the video, it's like a 12-minute video. It's really, really good. It was this post I did yesterday on how to have better conversations with clients. And then this video right here, she goes through like this framework of like 7 strategies on how to have better conversations and control the conversation so that you can get people to move forward. So what I did is I took kind of that lesson from that video and translate it into how we can use those skills in real estate situations. Because the video right here is more kind of general communication, right? That it can apply to different, sales and stuff. But how do we use that in real life scenarios when it comes to buyers and sellers? And it's kind of perfect timing because, like, for example, yesterday, like Patrick and I had a conversation. Remember that conversation, Patrick, about just how moving that client forward, right? Did you use any of that we talked about after, and what ended up happening?
Oh yeah, I did yesterday. Yeah. Technically I laid down the ground rules in regards to submitting it one after the other and then reaching out to the listing agents to see whether or not we had a chance because the due date was at 9:30 a.m. And she said like, oh, you were far below all the other offers. And I moved on to the next one, reached out to her saying like, hey, what do I have to get to? And we landed on a third one. That's when we got into contract.
Okay, excellent. So Patrick hit me up. He had a client that wanted to submit an offer on 3 different properties at the same time, right? Because they were trying to shoot their shot on 3 different ones. And then so what I encouraged Patrick to do was to have more of a dialogue with them, to really set the tone of like why that's not a good strategy and what some of the implications are. And also to get them to narrow down which property they actually wanted and kind of go one by one. And so we had that conversation. I know Patrick took some of that strategy, and then lo and behold, today he's like, we're in contract. So I'm like, all right, cool. So some of that conversation must have worked, So I think it's good timing that we talk about some of these techniques, because as you guys are going out there meeting people, you're going to get to those situations where you have to push people forward, right? Like you're close to either getting a deal signed, a listing signed, or you're close to getting your buyer to come up, or you're close to getting that offer accepted, and you're like right there. And so how do you have some of those tough conversations so that you can try to control and influence the outcome as much as possible, right? So that's kind of what we're going to talk about today. And I'm taking, the framework from that video that I showed you guys and applying that to real estate. So I'm going to run through kind of some of the framework and the strategies, some examples of how it applies to real estate. And then at the end, I want to do some role play with you guys using those strategies in like real conversations, right? That's what we're going to focus on. So let me go ahead and pull up this doc and we'll run through them. Hopefully we can get through everything. And if you guys have questions, feel free to stop me. Or if you guys have if you want to chime in on any of this stuff, then feel free to stop me as well. So how to communicate like trusted advisors with buyers and sellers. That's really setting the stage here, guys. Most agents lose negotiations or listing opportunities, not because they lack the knowledge, but because of how they communicate. And so top agents naturally position themselves as advisors. Newer agents often position themselves as the order takers, right? So today we're going to go through 7 communication strategies that help you gain trust, authority, and control in the conversations, right? So I want to stop right there, right? Like if you want to be a top agent, you need to be able to have the confidence to be an advisor and make those recommendations, right? Versus letting the client kind of dictate how everything's going to go, right? And we've seen that happen, right? We've seen that where the client's running the show and then they're using what they think's in their best interest, and then you don't end up getting the deal moving forward, right? And sometimes it's having those tough conversations that allows them to move forward. Okay, so first strategy here, guys, it's called the challenger question strategy. And so what this strategy is all about is that authority comes from asking better questions. So most agents try to be the one answering everything, where you don't necessarily need to answer everything. You need to ask questions that get the client to think differently. And so the goal is for you to be like the strategic thinker in the room, right? Because when you're the strategic thinker, the client's going to look at you differently and they're going to take your advice, right? And there's certain ways, that you can accomplish that. And so these are 3 types of authority questions that you can ask, right? And so the first one is called implication questions. And so this is where you want to make the client consider some risks that they haven't thought about, right? Sometimes the client is like thinking one way and they're not really thinking about everything. And so you want to be the one that brings up the potential risk in them doing it this way or doing it that way, right? And so here's an example for a buyer that you would say to them: what happens if interest rates move another 0.5 point while you're still searching, right? So let's say you're out showing homes and the client is being indecisive on choosing a home, or they don't want to submit good offers on homes. You can ask them like, hey, well, what happens if the interest rates go up during this whole time you're like farting around and you're not being serious, right? Obviously, you're going to say it in a professional manner, but you want to pose that question and get that into their mind that there are implications to you not taking this process seriously. If rates go up 0.5 point because rates have been a little volatile, what is that going to do to your payment? Versus if you see a home you like right now, we might as well move on this one because we don't know what's going to happen in the future, right? So this is where you're the one that's bringing this up and getting them to think about the situation a little different. Here's an example with a seller, right? Maybe the seller doesn't want to price it where we should price it. Hey, Mr. Seller, I totally understand where you're coming from with your pricing strategy, but what happens if the home sits on the market for 45 days with no offers? Then what? Right? Because we started the price too high. And so you're the one that wants to pose those questions. So now they're like, okay, well, maybe I got to come up with a better strategy, right? Okay, so that's the implication questions right there. Reframing questions. Change how they see the problem, right? So this is where you're getting them to change how they're looking at a certain scenario. And so here's an example with the buyer is, have you considered that winning may be more about terms, not just the price, right? You guys ever have clients that are just focused only on the price, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're not really thinking about like the terms, contingencies, inspection contingencies, stuff like that. And so you're getting them to see that, hey, it's not just all about price, it's also about terms, right? Or a seller, have you considered that pricing strategy may matter more than the marketing, right? Like if a seller is, focused so much on marketing, but we're completely off on the pricing strategy, sometimes you got to change the way they're looking at this situation, right? Have you considered that pricing strategy may be more important than your marketing, right? Like I know you want us to do the drone photos, but have you maybe considered that our pricing strategy is more important than the drone photos right now, right? Stuff like that. Okay. Assumption questions, right? Challenging weak assumptions. Sometimes we have clients that assume things, and your job is to kind of burst their bubble and challenge that, right? So an example for a buyer: what makes you believe offering lower will get the seller to negotiate? This is the question you can ask them. That's for a buyer. A seller: what makes you think that waiting until summer will get you a better price? Right? Sometimes sellers like, oh, I want to list it in the summer because, that's a better time to list the property is what I heard. Okay, well, what makes you think waiting till the summer is going to get you a better price? This is now where you're challenging their assumptions because their assumptions are not always correct. Okay, I want to stop right there because I know this is a lot of stuff. So can you guys give me some examples of maybe when you've run into certain situations like this, and either maybe you had to challenge their train of thought, or maybe you ran into situations and you didn't do that and it kind of went the wrong way? Do you have any situations that you could bring up where maybe you showed up good, or maybe you didn't show up like you should have, and that made the conversation go a different way? Maybe even think about your current clients you're working with right now. Let me ask you, Patrick, because I know we talked yesterday, right? Your clients that wanted to submit on 3 different properties, right?
Mhm.
What were they assuming was going to happen by doing that? Or what were they assuming the benefits were?
That they'd be able to negotiate between the 3 options to see whether or not they would actually bite. Well,
Okay.
because one of them was a single family home, so they were like, "Oh, our chances are very slim, but we're hiring our highest and best as of right now." And the other
Okay.
2 feasible.
So they thought like, hey, if I submit on 3 different properties, it's going to give me a better chance to negotiate because I'm shooting kind of 3 shots at one time, right?
Yeah.
Would you say that was a weak assumption, or was that an accurate assumption, or what would you say on that? Like, do you think that was a good strategy?
No. Well, now
Why
that we
not?
talked about it, no.
Okay. Why not? What maybe what were the implications, right? Or maybe
Implications
how
for
were
us
they
getting
do?
into like legal trouble if 2 of them accept the offer, builds a bad reputation on my part, but also doesn't really define concrete answers as to like which one they're serious about.
There you go.
Many things.
Yeah, many things, right? Implications were messing up your reputation, right? Pissing off the agent, maybe potential legal issues, right? Like if the seller finds out like, hey, you submitted on 2 different properties, you wasted our time, we lose a buyer because we accepted your offer. Now you put yourself in a bad spot, right? And then also it didn't allow your clients to really get concrete on which property they actually wanted to go for, right? It was kind of left them like too open and wishy-washy. And so the framework on that was like, number one is show them the implications of doing that, right? Like show them why that's not a good strategy. Maybe challenge their assumption, right? Like they had a weak assumption that, hey, this is a good strategy, and that's where you want to challenge them. And so that's kind of what we did when you and I talked about it, is I wanted you to go back and tell them about the implications. And then I also wanted you to challenge them on how they were looking at this strategy, right? And in the end, you were able to kind of navigate them to the property that they ultimately wanted to get, and you moved forward with that one, right? And so these are some clear examples, guys, of like when you're challenging your clients with different questions, you're going to help lead them to the ultimate path of where they need to go, right? Okay. Any questions, guys? Comments? Feedback?
Maybe if I could make it just one quick thing.
Yeah.
There's a saying, guys, that says people will never believe what you tell them. People will sometimes believe what their family and friends will tell them, but people will always believe what they tell themselves, right? So if you can structure your communication in a question based, just like this, where you're firing questions back, they automatically come to the realization. And once they say it themselves, they believe now what they've told themselves, because they'll never lie to themselves. So our job is just to ask questions in a way where it opens them up for them to come up with the answer that we want. And it's us just leading that horse to water. Once you understand that concept, guys, of speaking like in riddles, then communication becomes so much easier.
Yeah, definitely. It's hard to like, if someone's already stuck, like they think a certain way, it's really hard for you to tell them something to just get them to change their mind, right? But when you ask them questions and start getting them to analyze at different points of view, they start on their own kind of realizing, okay, well, maybe what I'm thinking isn't the best way, right? And so it's almost like it's like psychology, guys. It's like a reverse psychology, right? It's like you're trying to get them to go here, but you can't just go straight forward and tell them. You have to ask them all these questions to get them to go there themselves, right? It's kind of what Rob is describing. And this is higher level, guys, because this is what takes you from like amateur salesperson, right, who keeps running into walls with your clients, to like someone that builds credibility and leads the client to where you want to go, right? Richa.
I had a similar kind of situation where my clients liked 2 different properties, and the timeline were pretty much similar. So what I advise them is pick the best one you can, and then give the sellers a limited time, like a 24 hours, so that you can go back to the choice number 2.
Yeah, Absolutely. And that's kind of what we did with Patrick too, right? Is we said, hey, we'll go in this order so that we can close one door before we open the next door with the other property, right? So great advice on that. And yeah, it definitely works in those situations. Okay, let's move. Okay, so the coaching point, guys, the takeaway is, right, instead of trying to sound smart, ask questions to get them to think, right? Deeper thinking. This is going to elevate your authority. Here's another big one right here, guys. I think this one is huge. This is probably one of my favorite ones out of these, is framing control, right? So whoever controls the frame of the conversation, whoever controls the frame controls the conversation, right? Most agents react to the client's frame. Top agents are going to set the frame or set the stage, right, early. And what do I mean by that, guys? It all goes in how you set up the conversation to begin with. That is going to tell you if you're going to be on the defense or the offense, right? So this is some examples of like weak framing. A seller says, hey, we want to list high and see what happens. And then the agent says, okay, well, we could try that. And then if that doesn't work, then we can do this, right? That happens a lot, guys, like with listings, right? Sellers have their own train of thought where they're trying to run the show. I'm going to list it at this price, and the agent just kind of goes with it. But what that does is that puts you in a defensive position. And so instead, what you want to say is, hey, in this market, we focus on positioning the home to attract the most competition early. That's how we maximize the price. And so that switches you from like defending what the client is trying to do to you setting the stage of this is how we're going to do things, right? And so now you control the conversation going forward. An example with the buyer. I hope our offer gets accepted, right? Hey, we just want to submit this price and, I hope it gets accepted, right? A strong frame would be like, hey, Mr. Buyer, like my goal is to position your offer so that the seller feels confident in choosing you. We're not just going in here with hope and crossing our fingers. We're going here with a strategy so that we position you so the seller feels confident choosing you, right? So you never want to walk into a conversation reacting. You always want to set the stage from the beginning, right? And so how can you use this like in any of your appointments? Let's see, like let's say you're going in a buyer consultation or an offer consultation, right? A lot of you guys do that. You show homes, you get to the offer consultation. From the start, you need to open up with, hey guys, the goal of today's conversation is to show you how we're going to position you to be the best offer and get the seller's attention on this property that you guys like. That's very different from like, hey guys, let's go ahead and talk about the property and we'll kind of talk about different strategies and we'll kind of figure out which one works best. Two different conversations, right? What do you notice in those two, guys? What do you observe in those two trains of thought?
The first one, it's very clear and guiding on what the goal is. The second one is very hopeful. Let's just see what happens, kind of mind frame.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. And so an amateur, right, is going to be scared to lay it out on the table like that, right? But when you lay it out on the table like that, that shows that you're confident in like your process and how you're going to guide them through things, right? And so you have to take control from the start so that now they're listening to you instead of you're listening to them, right? It's two different scenarios, right? And I think that's the part where sometimes we think like we have to sell a lot of homes to be confident, but a lot of times it's just the way you explain things that is going to put you in a confident position. So now they're listening to you and taking your guidance, right? And so that's a good example, like on the offer consultation. Let's say you walk into a listing presentation. How would you set the stage on the listing presentation? Any of you guys, give me an example of an opening sentence that you can do that sets the stage on the listing presentation. Rob, I know you got some good ones. Rob, what would you say? You go into a listing presentation. How would you set the stage from the beginning?
I would say, hey, listen, guys, thanks so much for inviting me over. Listen, today what we're going to cover is we're going to go over the process itself, run you through the quick numbers, and at the end, a quick Q&A. And by the end of our session, we'll be able to figure out if working together is going to make sense or not.
There you go, right? So that's a great opening sentence that kind of already establishes your authority right when you come in, right? Different variations you can use on that, but that's a great example of like, hey guys, today we're going to cover A, B, and C, and at the end, we're going to figure out if this makes sense, right? For us to work together. It's the same thing like on our buyer presentation. The first slide, one of the first slides says why we are here today, right? There's a reason that we set it up that way. It says why we are here. We're going to go over A, B, and C. And at the end, if there's alignment, then we could talk about the next steps of moving forward, right? And so what you're doing is this right here. You're framing the conversation and you're setting the stage for how you're going to move forward. You can do that on your showings. When you go meet a client at a showing, what would be a great example of how you set the stage when you meet a client for the first time on a showing? Who has an example? Or maybe just freestyle something off the top of your head.
Yeah,
What could
it
you
would be
say?
the same concept. I'm sure Blanca would. Blanca, you probably have a good one, no?
When I meet a client for the first time.
Yeah. How can you set the stage from that first introduction that you see when you get there to the property?
Well, the first thing is introducing yourself, because most of the ones that I meet there are Zillow clients, right? So it would be introducing myself, giving them a little bit of background, and then letting them know what the plan is for today's visit, and go from there, answering any questions that they may have up front. Another one that I think is also very important is at the end is just recapping, because you're just getting to know them. So usually when I do that and we see the first house at the end that I close up and we're in the front of the house, I usually kind of just recap and say, hey, what did you guys think of this home? And I want to ask you a few questions because we're just now meeting, and this is going to help me position future homes for our showings.
There you go. So those are all framing, right? You frame it at the end of how it's going to help us in the future. You said you tell them in the beginning what the game plan is when we're going to walk into the house. So what do you say? Like, what are your words in one sentence that you say describing the game plan?
Hey, Enrique, so we're going to go ahead and tour this 3-bedroom, 2-bath home. I'll show you all the features of the home. If there's any questions, feel free to ask me along the way. And then once we're done, we'll do another little recap just so that I know what the highlights are for you, your must-haves, negotiables, and what you didn't like. Does that sound okay?
There you go. Perfect, right? So you're already setting the stage for this is what's going to happen. This is what we're going to do together. And then this is what we're going to do at the end, right? This is probably, guys, I would say out of all of them, I like this one so much because this one helps you like really anchor your position from the get-go, right? And so what I want to coach you guys on is never go into a situation just kind of wishy-washy, we'll figure it out, right? Always go in with some sort of statement that establishes what's going to happen today, right? That's really what the main concept of this. Just this one alone, guys, introducing this, it'll set the stage for a lot of other positive things to happen, and you'll move people forward a lot faster. Okay. Here's another cool one, guys. Strategic silence, right? A lot of agents talk too much. Silence is one of the most powerful negotiation tools. Raise your hand if you think sometimes you could talk a little too much. Rob, raise your hand.
Rob, yeah, both. Just kidding. Just kidding. I love it.
Sometimes talking too much backfires on us, right? Because talking too much sometimes doesn't show authority. It shows desperation or like you're trying to oversell something, right? So this is where you will strategically use pauses and silences to really bring a point home or to really establish credibility, right? We all do this, guys. I do this too. So, but it's hard to change what you're already used to. But I want to point this out because this is going to help you, right? What were you saying, Blanca?
I was just going to say, sometimes it's because we're just passionate. We're passionate about what we're doing, and it just comes naturally too.
Okay. So there's three. Yeah, you're right. There's 3 types of silences, right? There's number 1 is the thinking pause. Pause before answering. This is sometimes hard because sometimes they ask you a question and you just want to fire off the answer. But when you pause for a couple seconds, it shows that you actually thought about it and you calculated the answer. And so it actually hits them harder because of that pause. So if a buyer asks, Blanca, I'm calling you.
Mhm.
Should we waive contingencies?
You're asking, okay.
So-
Hey, that's a really good question. Well, it's
So
really
I want you to pause. So I want you to
Oh.
pause. See,
Oh, okay.
naturally you wanted to answer it, right? So what I
Yeah.
want to do is I want you to pause for 2 to 3 seconds,
Okay.
like you're thinking about it,
Yeah.
and then give me a confident answer. So Blanca, I'm just not sure. Should we waive contingencies?
Hey, that's a really good question. And that's really going to depend once we review everything on the home, disclosures, reports, markets. Together, we're going to strategically decide whether we remove the contingencies or not.
Perfect, right? So
Yeah.
inserting that little pause for 2 to 3 seconds and looking at them, right? Also looking at them is important, right? Because then it's like you're not just pausing like in La La Land. You're like really calculating your answer right now, right? It does something, right? If you listen to a lot of great speakers, you'll see that they pause and they let the thought kind of marinate a little bit. And then they give it to you. And then it just makes a bigger impact, right? It's something I'm trying to work on when I do my my meetings. Pay attention if you see me pause more, because I'm actually trying to implement this more to really drive points home. Okay, so 2 to 3 second pause before giving your answer. That's the first strategy. Okay, the offer pause. So after you present like terms or price, you're gonna say the number, but don't try to justify it. Just say the number and stop talking, and pause, and then let them respond. So a really like an important way, right? You're going over the offer consultation. You can say, hey, Mr. Buyer and Seller, I recommend you guys submit at 1,275,000.
What?
So it's a little uncomfortable, right? But remember, the first person who talks loses.
Mhm.
Because if you start talking and justifying and trying to sell why and this and that, you now go into defending, right? Instead of guiding or directing or leading, right? So when you pause and don't say anything and let them respond, now you gain control where you can tell them why we're going to go there, right? So I recommend submitting at 1.275. That's it. No explanation. Pause. The explanation will come later, right? Let them respond to you. Well, why do you think we should do that? Here's why, right? And then you're going to break it down. Boom, 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 boom. Now you're in control. Now you're leading them, right? That one's a little uncomfortable. The negotiation pause. After you ask a strategic question, then pause. So here's an example. When you call and ask how many offers, or about a property, you can ask the seller, ask the agent, hey, by the way, Mr. Agent, is the seller prioritizing price or certainty? Or you can say terms, maybe. Are they prioritizing price or terms? And then just pause. And then wait for them to spill the beans, because if you pause, it's going to get silent, and then they're going to have to spill the beans, and then now you're the one taking control of that conversation, right? So silence, guys, creates pressure. Anytime you're going to deliver information or deliver like a negotiation or something, you want to just deliver it and then to just shut up and let that sit with them. It's going to make you a lot more powerful, a lot more effective, right? Okay. Who thinks that's a little uncomfortable, guys? Like these pauses? Or does it feel unnatural? All right. It can be, right? Because it's not how we're used to talking. But remember, the whole goal of this conversation is to command authority and to be able to control the conversations, right? All right. Here's another one, guys. Precision. Precision builds authority. So when you're vague about things, you sound inexperienced. When you have specific examples or specific numbers, you sound like an expert. Let me give you an example of a weak statement. Yeah, our team sells a lot of homes, right? Or last year, our team sold 182 homes here in the Silicon Valley, right? Which one sounds more professional, more like expert? when you have an exact number that you can tell, right? Versus we sell a lot of homes. Okay, yeah, everyone could say that, right? But when you can say an exact number, think about that, right? Hey, in my career, you can say I've sold up until now 357 homes. This many of them were buyers, this many of them were sellers, right? This is why you want to go with me. Now that sounds really specific, and that builds authority with your audience. Saying we have good marketing. Yeah, we have really good marketing. That's really vague, right? Hey, through our marketing strategy, we generate thousands of online views through digital marketing. That statement is a lot more powerful because it's really specific. It explains exactly what you do and how you do it, right? So it's going to hit a lot harder. Here's an example when you're talking to a buyer. Hey, yeah, the market is really competitive right now. Or in this particular neighborhood you're looking in, most homes are getting between 5 to 8 offers within the first week. Which one sounds like like you're talking about, like your stuff, right? Obviously, the second one, right? But if you think about it, guys, if you think back to some of your conversations, a lot of us say weak statements. We don't use precision in what we're saying. We generalize a lot of things, which makes you sound weaker, right? So this is something you can immediately do when you're referencing data, numbers, your track record, is start getting specific on your numbers and outcomes and stuff like that, right? So the coaching point here, guys, is precision is going to build trust. Specific numbers and examples show that you're a master. It doesn't leave it vague, right? Okay. Any questions on this one, guys? Or maybe is there another example here of where you think you can use more precision? Where do you think in your daily workflow you can use more precision when explaining things?
In the third one, like that buyer example you mentioned, in this neighborhood, most homes are getting 5 to 8 offers. That's a very good example that worked with a lot of times with my buyers. Like instead of saying this is a competitive market, when you go to with more accurate data showing that, hey, look at 123 Main Street, it's a very similar home with what we are looking. It was just 5 days in the market and they're pending.
Yep.
So when you show the relative data, that's much stronger.
Absolutely. Especially out in our area where you're dealing with a lot of engineers and stuff like that who really appreciate data, right? Where else, guys? Any other examples of where you feel you can now insert maybe be more specific on how you're explaining things?
I would say the introduction can use the first two, where we say that our team is selling so and so number.
Mhm.
Also that we generate thousands of online views. That's an introduction and strong team.
Mhm.
And the third one is more like personal, as an agent, where I tell them, hey, this neighborhood is getting each house is getting at least 2 to 3 offers.
Yeah.
So all of them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Uh,
You go ahead, Rob.
The one that I use to kind of convert a lot of things from like a phone call to an appointment is the 500 5-star reviews. So I tell them like, hey, so listen, I'm a 20-year veteran that with over 500 5-star reviews, and that usually kind of gets me a little bit over the edge.
Yep. Awesome. And just to update you, Rob, we have 750 5-star reviews now.
Is it on Zillow or is it on Zillow and Google?
Between Zillow and Google. Google, I think Zillow alone has like close to 600 and Zillow has like another 200 or something. So
Okay.
I always say like we have over 750 5-star reviews, right?
That sounds way better. That even sounds even way better than what I'm doing. And it's true.
What would sound even better is if you get the exact number. Hey,
that's right.
As of today, we have 768 5-star reviews between our Zillow and our Google profile. You see how much that's a specific number, right? Not like, hey, we get a lot of 5-star reviews, right? So that is a lot more powerful when you have the exact number. It's just going to hit home a lot easier, right? Okay. How are we doing on time? Professional presence. This one's pretty easy, guys. Your presence communicates authority before you speak. So posture, eye contact, your facial expressions, your body language, right? A big a big component of communication is not just verbal, it's also body language and stuff like that. If you look nervous during a listing presentation, the seller is going to lose confidence, right? If you appear calm and confident, right, they're going to trust your leadership just because your presence is going to make them feel more comfortable, right? So simple rule is be relaxed but intentional. And so you're the professional guiding the process. So pay attention to how, like, are you sitting straight up? Are you looking straight at them, right? Are you looking down when you're talking, right? Are you playing with your hands? Are you doing something right? All those things are sometimes things we don't really realize, but those do make a difference in the whole package, right? Certainty in language. There's two more, guys, and then we'll go to some role play. Removing weak language, because weak language kills credibility. So these are some weak phrases, right? I just want to see if maybe. I think this could work. It might be a good idea, right? Those are common phrases that probably a lot of us use, just to be honest, right? Right? It might be a good idea for us to do this or do that, right? Or I wanted to see if maybe you were interested in getting together and looking at some homes, right? Like those are all like, those are weak, just to be honest, right? They're really casual, but they don't scream credibility. So stronger phrases, it will be saying, I recommend we do this. Based on the data, this is the strategy that we recommend that would work best for you. Here's what we should do, right? So you're saying the same things, but one of them is strong and one of them is weak, right? So we need to start using these bigger terms, or, you know, terms that are come off a little bit stronger, because it's going to drive it home a little bit better, right? Anytime you can say based off the data, that tells like you've researched the data and then this is a recommendation. It puts you in advisor mode, not just kind of, you know, wishy-washy or like hopeful mode, right? Like Blanca said earlier. Some examples, guys, right? You get a counter offer. I think we should come up a little bit. Hey, I think we should come up a little bit and see if the seller accepts our offer. That's very weak. Versus, hey, Mr. Buyer, if you really want to win this home, we need to come up to 1,320,000. And then pause. Remember, use the pauses. Let them talk first, right? So your confidence in your language is going to create confidence in the client, right? Okay, physical authority. This is a little bit different from this one, professional presence. Physical authority has to do with like your posture, your voice, and your stillness as well, right? So it's not just words. If you stand tall and your shoulders back, it shows more intention. If you speak slower and you lower your tone of voice, it's a clearer delivery, right? Sometimes we're used to talking how we talk, but we got to slow it down and have a more direct tone of voice, right? Avoiding nervous movements, fidgeting, playing with your phone, doing whatever, right? That plays a role in this, right? So these are just some three elements that we can work on. Okay. I got a couple role play examples and then we are almost done. Which one of these stood out to you guys most? I know there's like 7 different strategies in here, but which one really stood out to you that maybe you have to start implementing, right? We had physical, certainty in language, professional presence, precision, being specific on your data and numbers, the silence, the pauses, setting the stage, framing the conversation right in the beginning when it starts, or the questions, right? Asking challenging questions that'll get them to think differently. Which one stood out to you the most and why? Let's go around the room. Go ahead, Risha.
Yeah, to me, it's challenging the question strategy and bringing them to strategize and think about the decisions, give them a direction so that they don't divert once there are so many homes in the market. They can arrive based on their budget and based on their requirement and needs.
Absolutely. Great example. Who else got one? Which one stood out to you?
I think I'm pretty good at all this, except for there's a reminder, like the last one. Go scroll all the way down to the bottom, Kike. And I think it was pacing, like all the way, all the way.
The pauses,
No,
there's
no, no, no. The
physical, there's certainty in language, professional
no, no, down,
presence.
down, down.
No,
That's
that
the
was
last
it. There's
one.
only
was
7.
speed. It was a speed. Speed.
Oh,
Had
speed.
to do
Yeah.
speed.
Slower physical element. So speaking slower,
Voice. Yes.
lower tone, clear
Yeah.
delivery.
For me, I think I know like the answers where I can fire them off pretty quickly, and I kind of know how to navigate through the call. Where I have to, I know that I purposely have to like act and create ims, or kind of pauses, and I have to always catch myself to speak slower and a lot more clear on my conversations.
Great. That's great feedback. Great observation. Which one stood out to you, Shri or John or Blanca?
Yeah, I can.
John.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay. Number 6 with the precision. I catch myself doing some of the weak stuff, and then on number 4, which they kind of tie in together, I think.
Number
Precision
4,
and then scroll up.
precision.
Please.
Yeah.
Shit.
And then number 3 is going to be the pauses.
I'm all frozen over here.
You froze a little bit. So yeah, the precision, right? Where you're speaking in terms of more concrete numbers, data, stuff like that. And then what was the other one? All right, we'll come back to John. I think he's frozen. Shri, you got anything?
Hello?
Johnny, you're going?
No, I'm not.
So, okay, I'll go then.
He's pausing on purpose. Go ahead, Shri. We'll come back to you, John.
For me, I think the first one, Enrique, can you go up once? Actually, yeah, the strategy, the challenging question strategy. Really, I need to work on this. I think this is a very good way to move the clients by making them think. Most of the times after I'm done with the speaking the clients, I would get these questions. So going forward, I want to, get prepared before, and I can ask the questions when I'm with the clients.
Yeah, definitely. Asking these questions to get them to think and open up their, right? Instead of just they're thinking one way,
Yeah.
you got to ask these questions that are going to challenge their thinking. Absolutely.
Yes.
Blanca, anything stood out to you?
Yeah. I want to say the silence and pause for me is a good one, because sometimes I know the answer and I want to respond right away, but I'm actually implementing the silence and pause with my spouse. And I'm teaching him to apply the silence and pause. And I feel that helps us both business and personal wise. It's a powerful one. And then the strategy, like Shri said, is just making the clients, sometimes I feel maybe we don't want to push them to make that uncomfortable decision. So we fall into that trap. So I think just being very firm on the strategy from the beginning is key to a successful getting them to move forward either on the list or the buy side.
Yeah, absolutely. Patrick, I know you jumped off for a little bit. Anything that stood out to you that you can take away from this? What's one takeaway?
Asking more questions, so that way it gets them more thinking. I'm so sorry, my buyer's called me.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
Asking
think
better
so.
questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%, guys. They all work, guys. And there's some of them you guys might be already doing some of these, and then some of them you're like, hey, I'm not doing this or this, right? So I want you to look for maybe the 1 or 2 takeaways that you can start adding immediately. And just being conscious of like, hey, I need to pause more, or hey, I need to ask better questions. When my clients have a point of view, I need to ask better questions to get them to open up their train of thought, right? Or I need to be more specific when I'm delivering information, right? Not be so vague, but actually deliver it more specifically with, true numbers or data or stuff like that, so that it's more effective.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll spend the last few minutes, guys. There's just a couple role plays. So I need a partner right here who wants to role play this with me. So you're going to be the agent, and it's all you got to do is read from it. But right here on this example is the seller wants to test the market. You ever had a seller that wants to test the market? Let's just put it on at this price and test the market and see what happens, right? We've run into that before. So the seller says, let's list it high and see what happens. We can always reduce it later, right? Actually, I wish Josh was on this call because Josh has his seller right now that is doing this. And it's not working out. So let's list high, see what happens. We can always lower the price later. So your goal is to use the challenger question. Your goal is to question them, to get them to open up their thinking. Your goal is to set the stage and frame the conversation. Your goal is to use precision, and it's also to use pauses to move them into smarter pricing strategy and securing that appointment. All right, so who wants to be the agent on this? It's really easy. You're just going to read through it. Need a volunteer?
Me, sure.
All right, Patrick, let's go. So you're the agent. So I'm going to start off. Hey, Patrick, let's just list high and see what happens. We can always reduce the price later, but let's just start the price a little higher at like 2 million.
Got it, Enrique. But before we decide on price, can I ask you a question? What if we list high, but then we don't get activity within the first 10 to 14 days of open houses? And then all of a sudden the market labels as a home overpriced.
Ooh, I never thought about that.
Well, the first 2 weeks typically are when you get the most attention on the property, most traction, most clients walking through as opportunities. And that's what we use to create competition. But let me ask you another question. What's your priority? Is it the highest possible price or the highest possible certainty that you'll actually sell your home within a specific timeline that you and I talked about?
Yeah, no, I really need to get it sold before summer because like when summer comes, if it's not sold by then, I'm going to be in a tight spot.
Well, here's what I'm seeing right now. Homes that are hitting the market correctly are getting sold really fast, probably even off market. Homes that test that market usually end up on the market or usually end up chasing the market after a reduction. So that plan that I recommend is to price what will attract most people early on and then drive that number through competition. So the next step, as I quickly walk through, is giving you a tight list price of what within the range based on the condition, the comps, but also prep you for timing. Would earlier this week or later next week be better for you?
Let's do it this week. All right, let's go. Let's stop right there. Give it up for Patrick.
Well, okay.
Hey, Patrick's
All
in the
right.
wrong business. That guy needs to be in the entertainment business with that voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you had me, Patrick.
I was like, hey, you had me thinking like, damn, you're right. We should not price it high. Like,
Sounds like a smooth operator.
that was, guys, think about how many times that conversation comes up, especially when you're dealing with sellers, or some of you guys that haven't dealt with sellers yet, you're going to run into this. But a lot of times, like, pricing is really a tough conversation because the seller always thinks like their prices should be the highest possible, and they get away from strategy, right? And so right here, what we did was you did the key for, you reframed it, letting them know that testing high is not safe. It's risky because it burns the first 10 to 14 days. And then you gave precision by you saying exact numbers, 10 to 14 day window, you're actually giving them like precision, right? Versus you could have been vague, like, well, in the beginning, we want to attract more buyers, but you actually said in the first 10 to 14 days, we want to attract as many buyers, right? And then you gave the pauses after you explained the implications, right? These are the implications of why we don't want to do that. So it's putting all of those strategies together in one and taking control of that conversation. Good job, Patrick. All right, we got two more. I need another volunteer. Who wants to volunteer? Blanca, let's go.
Oh,
Tree.
I was calling out Shree.
Oh, you were calling Tree.
Okay, I can go.
Tree.
Go, Shree.
Okay, so the listing agent. So this is common, right? You have a buyer, you submitted an offer, they're trying to negotiate with you. You call the listing agent's trying to get you to move your price higher, and they want you to lower your commission also. Right?
You just did this, Shree. You're good.
So you submitted your offer, listing agent says, hey, so Shree, yeah, you know, we got a lot of offers, Shree. If you could come up 25,000 and reduce your commission, I can get this accepted. Right? So the goal here is going to avoid getting used as leverage, establish the frame, ask authority questions, use precision, and protect your buyer, right? So I'm going to say this one more time, and then you're going to start with the script here. So Shree, yeah, if you could come up 25,000 and lower your commission to 1.5%, I could probably get your offer accepted.
Oh, that's great. That's great, Enrique. Thanks for the direction. But before I take that back to my buyer, I want to be respectful of everyone's time and, get clear on the process. Are you negotiating with multiple offers right now, or we are in one-on-one conversation with your seller?
Well, I'm negotiating with you right now, but I may get 2 other offers, tomorrow. So I had some agents call and, they're circling around, but right now it's just us.
Oh, understood. Okay. Oh, if we agree to the price and terms you're asking for, are you confirming that seller will sign with us today?
Possibly. Yeah, I could probably make it work.
Now I hear you. The reason I'm asking is I don't want my buyers bidding against themselves without clarity. Here's what I can do. If you can confirm in writing, or just that we are selected offer pending seller signature at those terms, I'll take it to my buyer immediately.
Okay. Are you going to be able to lower the commission also? Because that's what my seller is asking for.
On commission, we are not adjusting compensation inside the negotiation. My buyer's focus is a price and terms. If the seller wants to discuss commission, that needs to be addressed separately with their listing agreement.
Okay.
So just to confirm, what is the exact combination of price and terms that gets this signed today?
Ooh, it got awkward here. Okay.
Pressure's on. Pressure's on, listing agent.
Yeah. So you see what you did, right? I came out all confident and cocky, like, yeah, Shree, give us 25 more and lower your commission. And you're like, wait, hold on. Right. And now you reestablish control of the conversation, right? So let's run through that again, right? Because you guys may have missed it. So what you did was you controlled the frame. So right off the bat, you said, hey, I hear you. Before I go back to my seller, my buyer, I want to respect everybody's time. Let me just get clear. Is this a one-on-one, or are you negotiating with other people? Right? Now, like, you're disarming me, right? I'm all confident, and now I'm like, well, it's just me and you, right? And then you're asking for confirmation, right? So, hey, can you give me written confirmation that if we accept these terms, you'll get your offer signed today, right? You'll accept it today. And then you're protecting your buyer relationship. You don't want to make the buyer feel like they were getting played. And then commission, you kept that separate, right? Hey, commission is separate from this, right? We're talking about price and terms. The commission, that's separate. The seller's gonna have to deal with that, with their listing agent, right? So you're not caving in. This is a really smart play, guys, because sometimes this is what happens exactly, right? Like, they're just throwing out random numbers to try to test the market. Your job is to flip it around and really get clear on where you stand, right? So I really like this one, right? Hey, thanks for the direction. Before I go back, I want to respect everyone's time and get clear. Are you negotiating with multiple buyers, or is it just us? I think that's a really powerful question right there.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're basically calling their bluff.
Yeah.
Like, without calling their bluff, right? And then you can tell if they're like being dodgy, and then you'll know, okay, based off how confident they are. If they had a lot of offers, they'll probably be really confident. If they don't have any offers, they're probably going to backpedal a little bit. And then now you can go back to your buyer and know, okay, are we competing or we're not, right? But this situation comes up a lot. What stood out to you guys from this one right here?
All of
Anything
it.
stand out? All of it?
Mhm.
For me, all of it. Yeah. Yeah. The way like you gave it back about the commission part, like, very subtle way.
Yeah, regarding the commission, hey, we're not adjusting our compensation in this negotiation, right? My buyer's focus is
Very
price and
subtle.
terms. If the seller wants to discuss commission,
Terms.
that's going to be addressed separately, right? Okay. I think that's it, guys. I think that was the last one. Does anybody, we got 2 minutes left. Who wants to take a crack at one of these? I need one more volunteer. We'll just redo one of these. And which one do you want to do? The seller one or you want to do the buyer one? I need one more volunteer. Richa? Okay, let's go, Richa. Oh, I thought Richa raised her hand.
I did not, but I can.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Someone said Richa. I just heard Richa. Richa, you want to do the seller one or the buyer one?
Buyer one.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Richa. So same scenario, right? Buyer submits an offer, listing agent wants you to come up 25 and lower your commission, saying I can get it accepted, right? Okay, I want confidence, right?
Mhm.
Right here, start here. You're on, Richa, go.
Hey Enrique, thanks for the direction. Before I take back to my buyer, I want to be respectful of everyone's time and get clear on the process. So are you negotiating with multiple buyers right now, or we are the only one in the conversation with the sellers?
I have 2 offers right now. Yeah, but my seller wanted me to call you guys first and, see if you're willing to make this work. I have one other offer. Yeah, but we want to see if we can make it work with you guys.
Okay, understood. You have 2 more offers, one in hand, and the sellers want you to go back to us and negotiate. Okay, if we agree to the price in terms you're asking for, are you confirming the seller will sign with us today?
Yeah, you have a good shot. Yeah, I think if you can make it work, I can try to get my seller to sign.
Okay, I hear you. The reason I'm asking is I don't want my buyer bidding against themselves without clarity. And here's what I can do. If you can confirm in writing that we are the selected offer pending seller's signature at those terms, I will take it to my buyers immediately.
Okay. And what about the commission? Are you willing to bring your commission down to make it work?
Oh, on commission, we are not adjusting compensation inside the negotiation. My buyer's focus is on price and terms. If the seller wants to discuss commission, that needs to be addressed separately with their listing agreement. So
Okay.
just to confirm, what is the exact combination of price and terms that gets this signed today?
Yeah, if you could just come up 25,000, I think I could get it signed.
Awesome. Let me go back to my buyers and yeah, let's get this done today.
Okay. All right, let's go. Let's give it up for Risha. All right. Good stuff, guys. I know this was a lot, guys, right? And this is a lot more thinking, right? Thinking and stuff that you can apply to your language. But I do want to reiterate how powerful language is when you are talking to buyers and sellers, right? They're looking for you to be their leader and their guide, right? And unfortunately, when you get your real estate license, they don't train you on how to be a good communicator, right? They're just giving you your license to know the laws and rules and all that stuff. But this stuff right here is really what impacts how successful you are, especially in our market, guys, where things are competitive. There's a lot of agents, there's a lot of offers, the market's moving fast. You have to step up your communication skills and take this part seriously if you want to close more. Can you close deals here and there and be amateur on your communication skills? Yeah, you can, but you're never going to get to the level of closing 10, 15, 20 plus deals if you're not able to speak clearly and confidently to clients. You're always going to miss out on opportunities, right? So I want you guys to even think like, man, how many situations have I been in where maybe I could have been a little bit more confident? And I know if I was more confident, I could have pushed them forward, right? And maybe we would have got their offer accepted. Those ones where sometimes you're close too. We all remember those ones when we were close. We missed it by $5,000, you know, but for some reason I couldn't get them to move forward, right? I promise you a lot of these strategies could have influenced that outcome, right? So take away from it, guys. I'll send you the notes. I'll put the notes in Slack. But go back and apply whatever you took from today, guys, into your conversations, and I promise you, it'll start changing the game for you guys. That's all I got, guys. 103. We'll see you later, guys. Let me know if you need anything.
Thank you.
Thank you.